So basically YouTube and other social media is slowly causing the legacy media to go out of business, which obviously isn't the best for the reporters and management at the big media companies, and leads them to running stories that attack the content creators that are hurting their bottom line whenever possible. This time they went after Mr. Beast. An article was published in The Verge that went after Mr. Beast and his sponsor for one of his latest videos, $1 versus $100 million car. So let's talk about it and why this writer is just plain wrong. So why did The Verge publish an article about Mr. Beast and his sponsor, Samsung? Well, to be honest, I've read the thing a couple times, and it seems like the reason was that they don't want teens to buy anything but iPhones. I mean, the article is titled, "Samsung's new ploy to get kids off iPhones is a Mr. Beast sponsorship." The author, Wes Davis, starts the article by pointing out that the majority of teenagers have iPhones, and that Samsung would rather have them buy Samsung phones, and to that end, they've sponsored one of Mr. Beast's videos. The legacy media has this thing where they always seem to need to call out creators by their real names, rather than just using the name they use online. But if you look closely here, you will see that the author misspelled Jimmy as Jimmy with IE, which is weird because I've never even heard of anyone spelling Jimmy that way. But okay, so far it seems like they're mostly attacking Samsung and not Mr. Beast, right? Well, for some reason the author just decides to go really hard into Jimmy in the following paragraphs, pointing out that Mr. Beast did the sponsor segment in a car while not wearing a seatbelt, failing to mention that the car he was driving at the time was a prototype car and thus does not yet have seatbelts, which is neither surprising or controversial, since that's kind of how prototype cars work. I wouldn't be too surprised if you told me that the car didn't have airbags in it yet either, which is why they were driving it incredibly slowly on a route that was clearly pre-planned, and they were surrounded by cars that were part of the production so that it was as safe as it could be. Then they go on to snarkily imply that Samsung is dumb for sponsoring Mr. Beast because their sponsorship has little chance of working to convince kids to switch from iPhones, which is both an opinion and an attack on Mr. Beast's business. But we will get to that in a second, because look at how they ended this article. Maybe that video thumbnail showing off Donaldson's pearly whites instead of his uvula will help. If you can explain to me how any casual reader of The Verge would read that sentence and not find it weird as heck, I would be very surprised. Of course, I know that it's because Mr. Beast changed up the way he's making faces in his thumbnails, but the average Joe off the street would never know that. The article genuinely gives off an AI writing vibe, but maybe that's just me thinking too hard. But anyway, it's clear to me from the last paragraph of this article that the purpose of this article wasn't really to critique Samsung, but rather to hurt Mr. Beast's business. The whole thing is just making fun of Samsung for spending money to advertise with Mr. Beast and mock them by telling them how futile the effort is. Now imagine you're a different company that's thinking about sponsoring a Mr. Beast video, and you do a Google search for the other sponsorships he's done. I would think that if a bunch of articles like this one popped up, it might make you rethink your relationship with Mr. Beast. After all, why would you want to engage in a sponsorship with a controversial YouTuber who doesn't wear a seatbelt and whose sponsorships are openly mocked by the press? Why would you take the risk? Well, that's just what these companies want you to ask yourself, since if you're sponsoring a YouTuber, you're using money that could have been spent on ads on their website to do so. So obviously, it's easy for me to see a conflict of interest here, and I wasn't the only one to spot it. A tech YouTuber named Austin Evans retweeted the article with the caption, "The tone of this article is so condescending. There's nothing wrong with Samsung sponsoring the most popular YouTuber in the world. I bet whatever they paid Mr. Beast is still a better return on investment than the Samsung ads on The Verge." And he's correct, of course. There's no way that the ROI on a Mr. Beast video isn't as good as the ROI on putting banner ads on a dying legacy media website. I mean, the average Mr. Beast video gets similar view numbers to the Super Bowl, and I think the Super Bowl ads are probably a lot more expensive. Mr. Beast saw Austin Evans' tweet and responded, "That video will probably get 400 million views. The cost per impression for Samsung is arguably the best in the world, LOL," which is obviously true to anyone with eyes, but in my opinion, there's no way that the author at The Verge didn't know that if he's even slightly informed on YouTube culture, which he should be if he's writing articles about it. This is, of course, just another symptom of the death of the legacy media. I don't know about The Verge specifically, but these kinds of sites are all having big financial issues, which has led to a lot of layoffs at similar companies in the past year or so. So it's a big problem for them if a company like Samsung is going to start endorsing the viability of sponsorships like this, which is why they'll attack it, even if the best thing they can come up with to attack it is that he wasn't wearing a seatbelt in a car without seatbelts. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you think it's okay for The Verge to go after people's sponsors? Do you think that the author should have at least learned how to spell the name Jimmy before writing an article attacking Mr. Beast? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. Have a great day, and God bless you.